last time on Dragon Ball Z.
You are swine. All of you.
Spare them, my lord. It was my plan. I bullied them into it.
As you like, Sota.
Alright, Soda. I'm not killing you with a sword, though. I'm killing you with a black powder bomb.
The rest of you leave Sago forever. If you come back, you will join Sota. Go!
Yeah, get out of here. Scram! Ghost of Tsushima is a video game. It knows it, and I love that. Sure, it's got cinematic moments, but it's not trying to be an interactive movie. It can immerse you in its open-world samurai adventure without bombarding the gameplay with press X for the animation nonsense. What? Did you see that? I can just press one button and it takes the loot. I don't have to watch him pick up the item. 5 out of 5, game of the year. In actuality, a lot of people are calling Ghost of Tsushima a masterpiece. I personally think it's just shy of hitting that top tier bar. It's got too many things holding it back, such as a wonky camera, unskippable cutscenes, trailing missions, climbing sections, a repetitive nature. Despite all those negatives, I still had a really fun time. I don't feel like I have to explain why doing something like this is fun. It is hard to explain why a game like Ghost can have all these tired game tropes yet feel like a refreshing experience at the same time. It's in its execution. Its polish shines brighter than most in its genre. It just lets me play, explore, customize the way I want, and I love it. It reminded me of playing an older action-adventure game, in a good way. You don't have to feed your horse or worry about getting a new one if it falls off a cliff. It just shows up when you need it. There's no minimap or waypoint indicators cluttering up the screen. The wind guides you, and sometimes birds too. Sure, it can lead to some needless wandering, but this is a game where I don't mind that kind of thing. The in-game cutscenes are unskippable, but I didn't feel like they ever drag for too long. It moves you along at a relatively brisk pace. Trailing missions blow, but at least you don't have to do nearly as many as you do in a typical Rockstar game. And similarly, with the climbing sections, they sprinkle in just enough to make them enjoyable. But all those aspects are just the dressing on the core gameplay, which is the combat. The combat is the best part of Ghost. It feels similar to Assassin's Creed or Shadow of Mordor, albeit much more refined. Lots of different weapons and techniques for fighting waves and waves of enemies at once. When approaching enemies, you can choose to engage them in stealth or in standoffs. The standoff feature is a cool idea. Walk up to any group of bad guys and challenge their best to a duel. Here you play a little timing minigame where you don't want to swing your sword too early or too late. Then you fight the rest of the enemies. The duels will get harder and harder over time, and enemies will try to fake you out with a juke or 3. A fun concept. I enjoyed this for the majority of my playthrough, but after so many times, I wish there was a bit more going on. Maybe a specific direction you have to swipe? I don't know, but if you're going to make me do this so many times, add some variety to it. The game is at its best when it gives you the option to tackle opponents however you want, i.e. stealthily or aggressively. But for a lot of the missions, you usually have to approach how the game wants you to, and that kinda sucks. Initially, I thought Ghost was going to have a morality system, but it doesn't. You can choose to do standoffs with your enemies or take them out dishonorably the sneaky way. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as they die, you're good. The story is good, nothing groundbreaking, and certainly above par for the course telling a samurai story. I didn't really find myself caring for the main character Jin's plight through most of the game. From beginning to end, he just has everyone telling him how amazing he is. He goes from village to village and everyone's like, then you go kill bad guys and everyone keeps telling you how awesome you are. Plus, I found it strange that some of the side characters exhibit some really psychopathic tendencies, but Jin's kind of passive through most of it.
Burn! Burn for your crimes, butcher!
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out! Y'all take a chill. You need to cool that shit out!
That's what he should have said. But instead, he'll just kind of challenge them on the nature of their rage-fueled murder, and just shrug it off and be like, alright, you do you. The game plays out in 3 acts. You've got main missions, side missions, and landmarks all over the map to explore. Mostly every mission is go here, kill the bandits, go there, slaughter the camp of Mongolians, save the villagers by killing the Ronin, etc., etc. And there are wandering enemies all over the map waiting to be killed and looted. It's always good to seek out landmarks. They provide you upgrades and vanity gear. What I love is once you've been to any specific area on the map, you can fast travel there at any time. Thank you. I'm the kind of player that clears the map of all the landmarks and side missions before advancing the main story. Doing this, I maxed out my guy at the very beginning of Act 3, and that made the last act a complete breeze. There's a crazy amount of kill options, and the types of charms you can combine can be downright game-breaking. In hindsight, I'd recommend blasting through Act 1's main story missions first, then going back and doing everything else at your leisure, seeing as the game's combat options don't really open themselves up until Act 2. In the matter of difficulty, this is no Sekiro. It's not a difficult game. Especially with the aforementioned charms and kill options, I'd recommend starting the game on normal. Then once you have a decent grasp on the controls and how the combat works, immediately bump it up to hard. You will enjoy it much more. And since my first playthrough, they've added one more difficulty, for people who want to treat it more like a Souls game. Have fun with that, just play Sekiro. Ghost of Tsushima is a game I had many hours of fun with. It has some issues with repetition and innovation, but it's the most refined experience of its genre to date. If you like video games and you like samurai, you'll probably love Ghost of Tsushima, just like me.
And that's the double truth, Ruth.